My story of chronic fatigue. Hello, welcome to Signposts for Living with Dr. Kirsten Hunter and everyone. We have got gorgeous Courtney here. Courtney O'Leary, hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's a little bit exciting.
It's very exciting. We've made it.
We did. This has been a long time in the coming. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Very cool. So everyone, we're talking about chronic fatigue, and I think this is such a brilliant topic because I think either people don't know about it, they think they know but they don't know, or they've actually experiencing or have experienced chronic fatigue, and I've talking to a lot of my clients and they feel incredibly isolated because there's so much lack of understanding. So here we are, actually being able to open it up, crack it open, flesh it out. Love that.
Good. Hopefully I can help. Like real life experience.
Why not? So tell us a little bit about you, like where are you in the world?
Okay.
Who's in your gorgeous
home? I live at Courtney, which is in East Queensland. And I've got two little boys, Henry and Samuel, and then my partner has two older children, Adelaide and Billy. And work as a bookkeeping and admin assistant. Very happy. Life is good.
That is a very good thing. Okay, so chronic fatigue, can you start us from the beginning? When you first had symptoms, what they were, and what the hell did you think was going on? Like, can you go back? How old were you?
Well, I might even go back before the actual chronic fatigue part.
Go.
I think it's integral to it.
Absolutely.
So it's like normal teen, very active.
When you say very active, were you sporty?
Horse riding. So I would ride all weekend from beginning to end. It was, my love. So I was active in that way. School was great. Everything was great. I finished school. And then the next year I started a double degree at uni and also worked two jobs. So I had retail in the day and then hospitality at night.
Why?
So, exactly.
No,
why?
Seriously. So you were just this gung-ho, go-getter, high energy.
Just wanted to do everything and have a go at everything, and found like great friends at uni. So add in that sort of fun lifestyle as well. And just... I really broke out in that year and I was feeling good, having a go at everything.
And why did you work so much?
Well, I'd started the retail job, the hospitality job earlier when I was younger, so like maybe 16, 17. And that was just, I enjoyed it, Friday, Saturday nights. And then I picked up my retail job as a bit extra money while I was at uni around that. And I don't know, I'd never even thought, I should just give one of them up. Like I just kept going.
This is what I do.
Yeah, that's right. Just run between jobs.
I love your passion. That's great.
So it was good. But then it might have been September, I think it was, of that first year out of uni, out of school, and
so you were 18.
Yeah, 18.
Right.
So 18, and I got glandular fever. So if anyone that knows me, they'll know I do not share drink bottles and anything anymore, because I'm sure that's how I got glandular fever. And
why do you assume that? Explain
well,
that.
Just because the doctor had said that it was something that often comes with young people sharing saliva, drinks, all that kind of stuff. So
there's a take-home message.
Don't
share a water bottle.
Don't share a water bottle.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what I think.
It could have been from kissing a boy.
Well, it could have been.
Well, that's a bit more interesting.
Especially at 18.
Yeah, you probably kissed a few boys.
That's right. And they had dirty drink bottles. Yes, but somehow I got that. So it was bad enough that I ended up in hospital for 10 days.
Wow.
They weren't sure what it was, and eventually that was the diagnosis. So from there, it took me well into the next year to get back to work. So, and I never fully felt recovered from that. That was, I think, when everything changed.
So glandular fever, that's fatigue?
Yeah, fatigue is one of the things of it, and super sore throat, like
really?
I couldn't eat, drink, that sort of thing. It started a bit like a cold, like a bad cold, and then just got to the point where I couldn't eat and drink because my throat was so sore.
Wow.
And then the fatigue part of that. So I guess it's all sort of related.
Horrible.
But
yeah. So you had to drop out of uni?
Yeah. So I stopped uni, no work. Eventually went back to work into the next year. But even then, it wasn't hospitality and retail. I had a little bit of retail, but then I was looking towards more the admin, so I could sit down. It wasn't as taxing. It was more predictable.
So massive lifestyle change.
Huge.
Big loss.
Big loss, yeah. And at 18, when it just felt like everything was ripped away.
You launched and then...
Fell back.
Fell back, yeah.
So that was, I think, a big turning point. And I got back to work, and that went for a little while, and then probably maybe a year, 18 months. And then I was okay. I just never felt 100%, but I was okay. I was getting through things. Had my sister's wedding, and the day after her wedding, I just felt awful and come out with a really bad red rash. And that was then when the chronic fatigue syndrome diagnosis was happening. And a specialist actually said another term for it is post-viral fatigue. And so then they put it back to the virus of glandular fever. So it was all sort of linked in.
Does chronic fatigue typically come after a virus?
That's what he was saying. That was his opinion. So what I found in the diagnosis part was that doctors had varying opinions. There were people who I came across that thought it was all in my head.
Oh,
and that was hard.
We are coming back to that issue. There's a massive elephant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think anyone that has had it or has been a part of someone's life who has had it would know that is a common thing. Yeah.
Get out of my face. I don't want this.
Yeah. I don't know why you would pretend to be like that.
I just think that's the ignorant framework of we don't understand it, so therefore it's not real.
That's it, yeah.
Or we can't see it, therefore it's not real.
And that was what I always wanted.
Very flawed thinking.
It was just like if I could have had a broken arm or a broken leg, so it was something I could point at and say, there, that's what's hurting, that's what's making me like this.
Yeah.
I just wanted something tangible, but because once you bring fatigue into it, or people just
I knew. We'll just diverge a bit.
Yeah.
I knew one person who had chronic fatigue who got so sick of people's, scoffing.
Yeah.
And just ignorant response. She stopped telling people, and she told them she had chronic migraines.
Yeah.
And suddenly they went, "Oh, you poor darling! I understand why you're not able to function." And that's what she did. And I thought, how horrible.
Yeah.
How clever, but how horrible that she needed to lie about her diagnosis.
That's right.
To get people to get her, because there was enough parallel with the fact that you need to rest a lot. But that's what she did.
There you go.
I thought, far out. That's so horrendous.
Yeah. I think it's a common thing. Yeah.
Okay, so you got this rash over you. I didn't know that a rash was connected to...
I don't know that it was.
Right.
It was more just one of the first signs.
Your body saying not happy.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was just that was that first sign that something wasn't right, and then just went downhill from there. And I always used to say that the fatigue that I felt wasn't just like tight, it was just so much more. Like if the house was on fire, I wouldn't have even tried to run. Like the weight in your arms and your legs, just not being able to physically do and go. Like I had to move back in with my parents.
Yeah.
There were times Mum had to help me do just basic tasks.
Like what?
I just couldn't. She showered me. There were times that she showered me. Getting the mail was difficult. Like she just... Mum, I had to go back home to Mum and Dad, which wasn't great.
Yeah.
I was lucky I have a supportive family.
Yeah. So talk me through how you got the diagnosis, because that's another issue, isn't it? You can't run a test.
That's right, exactly.
Glandular fever, you can run a test.
Yeah.
So how did you get it diagnosed? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, and I mean, it's so many years ago now, so some of it's a bit blurry and fuzzy, and timelines, blur.
General's good.
But yeah, the GP that I had at the time, he was great, and he sent me to a specialist. So I'm not actually sure what the specialist is, but anyway, he's a specialist in that sort of field. And he did the full run of the blood tests, looking at my skin, looking at I remember he looked over me with a fine-tooth comb. That's what it felt like, was just this investigation. He wasn't great. He was one of the first people that made me feel like it was all in my head. And I never wanted to question it because I knew it was real. But when people are questioning you, like, it's difficult to be able to justify yourself.
Well,
so
you're vulnerable.
Yeah,
and you're going into this space with that vulnerability, and you're needing them to hear you, and to show that they are wanting to understand you. So you're in the worst position to need to fight.
That's it.
And to advocate. You don't have that.
That's right. And one of the rash thing, I still had the rash. And I remember him saying to Mum that part of the rash looked like cigarette burns, implying that I had burnt myself with cigarettes.
Did you slap him?
I should have. My mother should have.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, just that not hearing anything I was saying and thinking he had probably another explanation for everything. So, but he was the one that ended up saying a post-viral fatigue syndrome, and his suggestion was slowly returning to work in consistent time, but smaller hours. So that eventually did happen, but it was quite a trek to get to the point where I could get back to work.
So what was your day like? And did it vary much?
No, it was the same thing every day. So we'd wake up. I always slept well, and I don't know if that is common with everyone that has chronic fatigue. I'm not sure, but I did always feel like I slept well. But I would wake up and never feel rested. And so I'd wake up, breakfast, and go straight back to bed. And so then you just sleep, doze on and off, get up, have some lunch, do the same thing in the afternoon. And that was one of the doctor's recommendations, was instead of that you had to slowly build things in. So going to get the mail, that was my activity for the day. So, slowly walking out to the letterbox and back, and then doing that each day to try to build the strength, and then you would add to that. But this is over a long period of time. It's not over a couple of days.
How long is it long?
I would months to years probably of slowly building more and more into my day before I could get back to work.
And that suggests to me that the premise of chronic fatigue is it's not a case of the more rest, the more you'll recharge.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not.
No, it's counterintuitive to how you feel. It's the more re-exposure, the more stamina, the more strength you build.
Absolutely. And that was further down the track, this skipping along a little, but that was what one of the doctors said too, is you need to really retrain your body, because then every time I would get a cold, like something really simple that anyone else would just have a sniffle and continue on with, it would knock me out. And so that's what the doctor said too. You need to teach your body that it doesn't need to shut down completely the second it gets another virus, that you can, you wind back yourself, take it slow, look after yourself, don't push through things, but continue doing some things so that your body learns that it doesn't have to just shut down as soon as there's an illness.
So is this an immune disorder?
I'm not sure, but I believe
it sounds like it.
It's linked. And this is the thing, like, I still don't think that there's adequate knowledge, and I don't even have adequate knowledge about it. I just don't think that there's a great deal of information, or information is given. I suppose it could go looking, and like, I've got a family history of it. So my dad's mum, she had many health concerns, and one of them was chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. So I was lucky in a way because my family had been exposed to it through her. But I don't know that there's a lot of information.
And is it genetic? Is it understood to be genetic?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's maybe variable. Not the genetic part, but because all of the symptoms are variable in different people, maybe that's why, like, it's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing. Everyone reacts differently, probably would have a different way of recovering. It's
interesting.
Tricky.
So So many questions in my head. So many questions. So how, if you were an individual living on your own and you had chronic fatigue, how would you go with getting food from the shop, preparing your food, showering yourself, washing your clothes?
Yeah.
You know, like stuff that's basic needs. You had a beautiful mum and family to support you.
Yeah.
But what would that look like?
I don't know how you would do it, and I think you would have to. There would have to be some kind of help, because I just don't think you could do it. And I suppose if you had to do it, it would have to be broken down into tiny, tiny tasks that you did, and then you stopped, and then you rested. But as we've just said, the rest doesn't really bring you back up to speed. So, but you would stop and I suppose do the next little bit. Anything would take a long time.
So did
a lot of effort.
Yeah. Did you become really skilled in monitoring your body?
Yeah.
Learning what you needed and
still now. So what are we? 19 years probably on from it. Yeah. From when it first all happened. Sorry. It's still something that I keep in mind when we're doing things, planning things. I don't believe it affects me still, but I think just in my mind.
You're just mindful of yourself.
Yeah, I'm just mindful of me, yeah.
And let's jump to that. So when did it resolve?
I think 10 years was probably before I felt like it didn't affect me anymore.
That's a long time.
And ironically, or not ironically, but a neighbour that my father knew, their daughter had also had it, a similar age, and that was what she said, about 10 years. And it was like 10 years. That was when it felt that it wasn't a daily effect. And
imagine, you know, hey, you've got 2 broken arms. Sorry, that's going to take 10 years.
10 years, yeah. That's it. Live with that for 10 years.
Yeah, it puts it in perspective. And obviously, you know, how you were towards the end of the 10 years was much milder because it was gradual, thank goodness. But nevertheless, extraordinary.
Yeah. And a lot happens in 10 years, you know, like I had children even within those 10 years and big life changes. So it's learning to live with it through all the different stages of life. I wasn't still just the late teens, early 20s where I was at home with mum and dad where they looked after me. So as you say, it's a gradual progression to get better. But I think I would say probably 10 years before it wasn't that everything had to be considered surrounding the fatigue.
Yeah. And if you don't mind jumping back to the research, not having a lot of information around chronic fatigue, I wonder if it's not a very sexy topic for research.
Yeah.
And is the research not going in?
Yeah.
Or is the research going into it but they're not actually getting findings?
Yeah.
So therefore we're not getting information back?
Perhaps.
I don't know. It's a really interesting question.
And I think too, maybe it's, as you said before, when it's not a test that you can do, a blood test for, perhaps that's why some people in the medical profession even question and think, well, there must be another reason for it, and question for things rather than trusting each patient.
Yeah, it's that science model, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is evidence-based.
That's right, you need proof.
So this is evidence that is self-report as opposed to anything you can test for.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
So that's very uncomfortable for the scientific world,
the
medical world.
That's right, yeah.
Very. Okay, so how did you go with educating people's reactions to you? I mean, you mentioned that first specialist, which blows my mind because... Was it a he? He was a specialist. Yeah. I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
He should be an advocate, right?
Exactly.
But how did you go? And we mentioned this at the beginning. That there is just this minimising or ignorance or. Yeah. So what have you come up against? What have you with educating people or ignorance?
I think just naturally, I'm a person who I don't want to let people down, and I never want people to think the worst of me or me think the worst of them. So I think there was already that I felt like I had to justify it so that someone didn't think that I was doing something wrong or that I had brought it on myself or, just that constant justifying I think was difficult and
Could
taxing.
I say you're a bit of a people pleaser?
Oh, absolutely.
And
1,000 times.
advocating for yourself is not really a
not
natural
a strong
strength.
suit, no.
So, for you to say, actually, no, this is my condition.
Yeah.
And I have these needs that I'm not choosing this, I need this.
That's right.
It would be way out of your comfort zone to have to stand up for yourself.
Absolutely. And not second guess myself too. And I think that was probably just so lucky again that I had the family that I have that had exposure to it. So, like, I remember talking with my granddad, and he was brilliant because he had lived it with Nana, like not himself, but Nana had it. And I think just knowing that people believed me, no matter whether anyone else believed me or not, the most important people did. So it was tricky, but I think I had good family. I had good friends. There were several that stayed around and understood, and they would meet me where I was at. So there would be people that would visit at home, and they would know, just don't stay. You don't stay long. It's just a quick visit and off you go. And then once I was well enough, then we'd go out for dinner, and they'd drive, so I didn't have to do the driving part, but I could still make it out for dinner.
And were you able to put it on the table? Could they say, okay, what do you need? And you could say, this is what I'm up to?
Not really, no.
How did you navigate that?
So I think, it's so long ago, but I think I had a couple of good, close friends who could see it in me, and they probably could see what I needed probably better than I could see, and were able to help.
Because it is very uncomfortable, isn't it, to say these are my needs?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And what about any yucky stories of ignorance or any situations where you just left feeling really, distressed because of people minimising
it? Again, I was probably lucky with work. Even I do remember when I had to give up my retail job because of it. That was really difficult, and I felt that they just thought I was just slack, and I was just, not giving my all when I was absolutely. So that was difficult, and then probably really that doctor. That was the main difficult one, and we did have some good doctors. I think it opened up other health concerns. So the following years, then I had fibromyalgia diagnosis, and a reactive arthritis gene was discovered in the trying to make an explanation as to why I still was feeling this way, why I still had pain, body pain. And even fibromyalgia, it's the same as chronic fatigue in that it just doesn't have a good, not a good reputation almost. It's just another one of those ones where
because they can't test for it.
Yeah, that's right. It's all based on what you're saying. And then if there's someone that just gives that inkling of that they don't believe what you're saying, it just takes you just think, please believe me. Yeah. Please believe me.
Yeah.
You wouldn't make this up.
I don't want to be here.
Yeah, that's right.
What happened with, if you don't mind me asking, the fibromyalgia? What happened with that?
Well, it's much the same with the chronic fatigue. It just gradually, just got better, or less of an impact, I suppose. And now I wouldn't say it's impacting me at all.
Yeah.
But that, like, just to have a blanket over me felt painful. To roll in bed felt painful.
Because you needed that on top, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. It wasn't enough. Yeah.
So it's a very different condition to chronic fatigue.
Yeah. Some similarities, and I believe it is usual that they do run together. So there must be some kind of link in there. And talking now, I am wondering, why didn't I put more effort into learning and investigating? But we didn't at the time. I think we just dealt with what we had and just didn't go further trying to.
Isn't it going to be extraordinary in the future? I mean, hey, what is this going to be, like 50 years time, 150 years time? And the medical world works these things out.
Yeah,
it's going to be phenomenal.
That's right. Yeah, true.
Might be a little while.
Better for someone else.
yeah, definitely. Now, darling, did you miss out on much?
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. I look back and think, I just felt like it all happened right when you were supposed to be out exploring the world and doing the things.
Well, it was you launching, right?
Yeah.
Launching, and then suddenly it was like, whoop, go back.
Mm-hmm. And I was lucky. So when I was, I'm not really sure on years, but I suppose maybe 3 or 4 years down the track, I did go overseas twice. But that, even when I look back at our travel, was completely all around what I could do. So the hotels we picked were close in the centre of things, not because we wanted to necessarily be in the centre, but because that would make it easier for me to be able to get places and do things. I had rest days. So, I remember I think I was in Nashville, and I just remember laying in the hotel thinking, you've flown all this way, you are in this amazing place, and you've got to have a rest day. Like, I've got to have a full day.
I'm in bed.
Yeah, I'm in bed. Yeah. So, and it was a lovely bed. It was a lovely hotel. There's positives to it, but yeah, it's just it was quite a handbrake.
And what about life events? Like, did you have any family weddings you couldn't get to, or you'd have to leave the wedding early?
Absolutely,
those sorts of things.
Yeah, and family were always understanding, but I always felt like I was sort of treated as make sure there's a room for Courtney to go to in case she's tired, in case she needs some time out, or, it just I never felt like I was just like everyone else.
Yeah, you having that difference. You being kind of as out of necessity, but you in that kind of sick role.
And it was lovely that people thought to have, a bed set up ready for me, or to have those things. Like, it's lovely that people were so considerate.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that sick person that needs someone to be thinking like that for me. And like, even the birth of my first son, coming to what labour did I want? And I ended up choosing to have a cesarean.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, which is great because we have the choice. And
but I mean,
cesarean's not easy.
I mean, going into labour would be the most strenuous thing the body can do.
And that was the fear, was what if, like, if I had a short labour, because by this time I was okay. But
there's no short. You can't skip it. It's, you're hit by an absolute train.
And then, and then what if you had to have a Caesar afterwards anyway? What if you laboured and then you had to have a Caesar,
what if you laboured and then you weren't there to bond and to connect with your child because you're asleep?
That's it. Exactly.
Sleep in beauty for a week.
Wiped out.
Yeah. So it's a good choice.
Yeah, Caesar was the way to go, and it was planned, although Samuel and my waters broke the night before, so that was nice. I kind of felt like I had a little taste of it, and then I got in and had my early Caesar, and we were right, and we had him. So it was lovely, and I was probably my best that I ever was when I'm pregnant.
I was about to ask you that.
Yeah.
I have heard before that for some reason when you're pregnant you get a reprieve.
Yep. And it was great.
What the hell?
I know. How can we not bottle that?
So why didn't you have 10 babies?
No, I wish I could. I'd have 10 babies, absolutely.
But is that true? Is that true?
I was the best I was when I was pregnant. Yeah, every time.
So something that suggests that there's a hormonal component.
Exactly. And even, it was probably about 9 months after Samuel that I started to have a few symptoms sort of come back. So that was a bit upsetting when he was about 9 months old, to start to feel a bit unwell again.
Did you get a false hope that it was gone?
Yeah, I think so.
You would?
You do, yeah. And I think because it was the gradual get better, yes, I think I'm well enough to, have a baby and do all that's entailed with that, raising a little person. Like, that's strenuous and taxing on anybody.
Absolutely.
And I didn't want to do it if I didn't think I could. So it was good that I could do it for that long, and felt quite well. And I never went right back. But, yeah, that was about the time where it sort of, I had to be more mindful of everything again.
Do you know, I don't know the answer to this, do you know if chronic fatigue is equal with men and women, or is it more females?
I think it's more females, yeah.
So if that was true, and if there's reprieve during pregnancy, what if it is a hormonal component?
That's right, exactly. You would think so.
Okay, all
Yeah.
researchers out there, please
Yeah.
go on that. Please go on the hot tip.
Someone go and find that out. Yeah.
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 Maybe they have. We just haven't looked.
We haven't looked.
We should look. Anyone write in and tell us the answer.
We do a part 2 of this.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. Information we find out.
And was the reprieve with both pregnancies similar? Was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I had like Henry was later 2017. So I think again that's about the 10 years. So he was I think less so. I think I wasn't as unwell going into it.
Yeah.
You know, I was probably stronger going into it.
Yeah.
But I still, when I'm pregnant, great.
Yeah.
So in saying that, I had little Harriet in between the boys, and she was stillborn. So that was a big life event, and I'm pretty sure everyone, including me, felt like we were just waiting for a bomb to go off with me. Was that going to be the thing that set me right back again with such a large emotional toll? Would that, flare things up? And it didn't. And somehow I made it through that quite fine. So,
you're absolutely right. I mean, stillbirth would be a level of grief that we typically would knock most of us in every direction.
Yeah.
So not to knock your immune system or your health.
Yeah, that's it.
I can get that.
Yeah. So
super sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I've been saving this one.
Yes.
This is really the big one in my mind amongst everything is what impact did this have on your mental health?
Yeah, it was big. It was big. And again, when it comes back to that being young and feeling like everything was just ripped off me.
Yeah.
It was, I think I just felt hard done by.
Because you were.
Yeah. And then that people-pleasing thing. I really think it was just some of the worst parts for me to be able to deal with was that I just felt like no one believed me and that I was letting everyone down. And I sometimes wonder, well, if it, again, was the broken arm or something that everyone understood and could see, and I would know that there was no question to, would I have found it so hard to have had it, so I wouldn't have felt like I was justifying it.
And that's despite you saying it quite accurately that you actually received support and understanding.
Yeah.
You didn't have skepticism, but yet you still feared.
Yeah.
What if they don't understand and they don't believe me, even though they're all nodding their head and being supportive?
Exactly.
So that shows that insecurity was within you.
Yeah, for sure. And I often think, how would it be for someone who didn't have family like that?
Imagine that.
Oh, just terrible.
Yeah. Was that, do you think, because you yourself still grappled with it? You found it hard to comprehend?
I found it hard. And I probably, it's again a personality of me, is that, not that I would second guess myself because I knew what I was feeling, but there would be that part of me that think, well, I should just get up and go. Just get up. Like,
I can will myself out of this.
Yeah.
So therefore, did you flip that, feel like it was a weakness of yours?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, and I still feel like there's a weakness to it, that even though now, like, I don't have to have conversations with people in my life about, can I manage this, this and this in this day? It's internally, I think to myself, I'm not going to go out and hike the highest mountain. Like, that's just not me. But I keep it in mind. But there's, still that part of me that I think thinks that it's weak, that I'm weaker than others, because will I be able to keep up? Will it happen again? Will a major life event that will set me back?
Do you fear that it'll happen again? I mean,
less and less, but I guess there's still that part of me that thinks, it could. Yeah.
Well, I think that's intelligent. When you have a really horrible experience, we have trepidation of it repeating.
Yeah.
But is there any information that chronic fatigue repeats?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or if it's
really
kind of like
sure.
it runs its course and then it's...
And that's it,
you.
and then it's done perhaps. Hopefully, let's go with that.
No, I'm sure that's the case. But if someone else had this sort of, condition, you would be the first one to have incredible compassion. You're a very compassionate person.
Yeah.
And not see it as a weakness for them.
Never.
So
I would never question someone. Like, it wouldn't matter what someone had. It wouldn't have to be chronic fatigue. Like that. I trust people.
So double standards.
Yeah.
Against yourself.
So against me. Yeah. Probably my own toughest critic.
It's almost like not giving yourself permission.
Yeah.
To concede that this is happening to you and it's real.
Yeah, that's right. And that it's okay. You know, because it is real and it is happening. Like, I don't actually need to feel guilty or like I brought it on myself. Or
did you think that?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
That's creative. You didn't want it.
Yeah. Like, or what did I do? You know, like, was it? Which drink bottle was it?
Which boy was it?
Which boy was it? Yeah.
I wonder if the onset also it came straight after a wedding.
Yeah.
You know, weddings are wonderful, but they're also high stress.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
and pressure. On. Yeah, that's it, exactly.
Don't put that on your sister.
No, that's right. It's not her fault.
So
great night.
Great night.
Yeah.
Sure, it was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'm hearing anxiety there. Do you know what I mean? Guilt and pressure and obviously there would absolutely be denial. You know, I don't want this. This is no.
Yes, that's right.
But with depression, like dark mood, where did your mood go to?
Yeah, it was pretty low. And I think it was more once I realised it was set in, you know, like it wasn't going to go away.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty tough realisation that it is actually going to be long haul.
Makes so much sense, hey? Because when you're unwell, you're thinking, I don't know yet. You'd be anxious to understand.
Yes.
But you'd presume we're going to sort it out and move on.
That's right, exactly.
And then when you hear it's a 10-year sentence.
Yeah.
Not that you knew that.
I didn't know then, but yeah. And like family daunting. Would help. You know, they would be trying to be encouraging. And I would imagine, I don't know, I've never really asked them, but I imagine it would have been so difficult for them to see me how I was, and I'm sure there would have been times that they would have been feeling probably frustrated and like wanting a quicker resolution as well. Like I think it affected all of us greatly, and it wasn't just me. So yeah, I think it was a difficult time for everyone.
I do hear about families that grapple with that, you know, where they might have someone who has a long-term condition, and they absolutely love the family member and you know, they're in their corner, they're supportive, but they're also human. Yeah. And they can get a little bit of a frustration, and then they feel so bad about that.
Yeah.
You know, and that reinforces the unwell person's, you know, guilt.
Yeah. And I think, like with chronic fatigue, it's that whole balancing act of pushing yourself to try and to still have a go, and perhaps that is similar to depression and anxiety. It's like you still have to try. Like I still had to try, and I still had to do the work to feel better within myself, and hopefully that change would then impact like my health side of things, you know, my body.
Absolutely. And as you said, you were making those steps towards it, but was that all theoretical, that this is going to help me, or did you see that it was helping you? Because depression, by definition, as you might know, is a sense of hopelessness. Yeah. I don't have hope that I'm going to be okay. Yeah. And a sense of helplessness. My hands are tied. I can't do this. I can't make it. I can't. Yeah. And, you know, so hope. Yeah. It's incredible.
I don't know if that's maybe I've got family to thank for that again, in that they kept driving me, you know. Yeah,
and they were looking to the horizon. We're going to get there. I'm holding your hand.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, definitely tough. Definitely impacted, obviously. Yeah, my mental health.
Did it go in waves with regard to getting, you know, a bit down in your mood and dark in your mood? Or?
Yes, I think so. Yep. And then even I think when it would reappear, then it would be probably difficult then to have good mental strength to not just throw it all in the towel, like throw the towel in again and just go, it's here again. I'm having a relapse. It's going to, you know, all be terrible again. I think there was probably a degree of that feeling when, you know, I would feel unwell.
That makes sense, hey, because if you have a patch where you're improved, because my understanding is that at the beginning it's thick and fast and horrible. Yeah. As it recovers, it's very kind of, there's patches where you're travelling well, patches where you deteriorate, and it's quite variable.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So if you're improving, you're going to go, oh, good, hope it's getting better.
Yeah.
And then you might have 2 steps back, and then you're going to get demoralised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's just a long process. It is not quick.
No.
Yeah. So.
No. And, okay, another big question.
Yeah.
Don't you love it?
I love it.
Do you have a sense of loss? I mean, you had 10 years of your life to varying degrees weighed down by this.
Yeah.
Do you look back and have that sense of, loss? It's not fair. I'm angry that this happened to me. Do you have that or not?
Not so much anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely been times that I feel like that. Yeah, that I lost a large part. At the same time, though, I love where life is, and I love how I've got there, and
how you've become who you are.
Yeah, that's right. And I never was, although I enjoyed obviously getting out and socialising at uni. I wasn't a party girl. I wasn't, that wasn't me. It was lovely to go and enjoy, I suppose, branching out and meeting all the new people and going to music festivals and that kind of thing. Like, that was lovely, but I was never going to be, I don't think, a huge social butterfly in that regard. But
are you more of an introvert than extrovert?
No, I'd say I am an extrovert,
right.
But I just
more of a homebody extrovert.
Yeah, that's right. Just in certain surrounds.
Yeah.
But maybe it's the whole, I didn't have the choice in it. That probably is part of it. I didn't have a choice to, move on from that, having a go in those early years and uni. That's another thing I carry. Shame might be a word too, that I can't say that I didn't finish uni.
Oh my gosh. You didn't not finish. Firstly, everyone, it's fine not to finish uni.
Yes, exactly.
But you didn't not finish uni. Your chronic fatigue didn't finish uni.
Yeah. And again, it's that, like you just said, it's okay to not finish uni.
Yeah.
I am totally fine. Everyone else, you don't have to finish it. Don't go to uni. I have
double standards again.
Yeah, it's the self. Double standard on myself, not on the judgment of anyone else. It's just the judgment I probably put on me.
Oh.
Still do.
Well, darling, jump in if there's anything else you want to add. But I have one big other question to wrap up on. Mm-hmm. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
I guess I'm wondering, did you come across anyone else with chronic fatigue in your journey, particularly early on, who you could talk to, who could come and kind of, did you have anyone, or were you like the only person on the planet with this?
No, I did definitely feel like I was the only person on the planet, even though I had family history, But
you didn't have anyone.
I didn't have anyone
Your
there.
grandma was not.
No, she had passed away.
Yeah, so you didn't have someone to say, yes, I too have a broken arm.
Yeah, that's right. Well, she passed away. It was about the year. It was actually all similar timing. So yes, there wasn't that person. Granddad was probably the closest person, and he was marvellous in just being that support. And because I think with him, I knew he had seen it. I knew he believed. Yes. There was never I never had to cover anything up. I never had to make it better than what it was. I never had to make it worse than what it was.
So he would be like an anchor for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
oh,
and
God.
I'm lucky in a way because it made us even closer. We're always close, but
that's
even
beautiful,
closer. Yeah,
in a very weird way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
So this is the question out of it.
Yeah.
Along comes someone, who might very well be 18.
Yeah.
And they get smashed from chronic fatigue. They meet you.
Yeah.
What would you say? What are your tips for how to look out to this and how to approach it? What would you say? What do you wish you had a mentor to come and actually in real time talk to you?
I think just meet you where you are, like that, to have someone say that it is okay for how you are feeling, and just have that, see where you're at, see you for who you are, and
And when you say where you're at, do you mean with where your body's at?
Yeah, where your body's at. Well, your body is at, and that's okay. You don't need to be further along. You don't need to be better. You just, have someone there for where you're at, and then hold your hand as you go through and encourage you without pushing.
And respect your body.
Respect your body. Yeah, respect you. And it's that whole, moving forward without pushing, encouraging without pushing.
And I guess if it was you as an 18-year-old, it'd be great to have heard, this is not your fault.
Yeah, and it's not the end.
It's not the end.
Yeah.
It's a really crappy chapter that's going to kind of overlay you a bit.
Yes.
But
yeah.
Yep, and it's okay to have special needs for a while.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. You do come out the other end.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we are.
Yeah, that's right.
Courtney, thank you so much.
Thank you for having
me.
me.
Really appreciate it.
Oh, I hope I was helpful.
Very, 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 very much.
Too many rambles.
Not at all. Not at all. Really precious. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, everyone. If you want to catch me online, my website is kirstenhunterauthor.com. There's lots of free resources on there. Facebook and Instagram, Kirsten Hunter Author, and TikTok, Dr. Kirsten Hunter, for some video bits. And so thank you again, darling.
Thank you.
See ya.
That's great. Thank you.